My name is Tess Wilkinson-Ryan, and I am a professor of law and psychology at the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School. My research, broadly speaking, is about the psychology of legal decision-making, and more specifically, it's about the moral psychology or people's moral intuitions about contract law, how they decide when to breach a contract, how to draft a contract, what a contract means. My new book is called Foolproof: How Fear of Playing the Sucker Shapes Ourselves and the Social Order and What We Can Do About It. This book makes the counterintuitive case that sometimes it's worth playing the fool in a world in which the idea of being a sucker or feeling duped is so aversive that people will go way out of their way to avoid that experience. So the book takes a perspective from psychology, from behavioral economics, from sociology, and to some extent from pop culture, to ask, what does it do to us as decision makers to orient ourselves around this inchoate, often unnamed fear that we might look like a fool? Fools also come up a lot in my life as a contracts professor. And so this book is also pulling from contracts and from legal decision making as well as social sciences. One of the things I'm trying to do in this book is to think about the way that the fear of playing the sucker affects decision-making that we care about, decision-making around things like social policy or altruism or charitable giving. And part of the argument is that in some of these cases, you can see the fear of playing the sucker or the prospect of playing the sucker is invoked strategically to warn people away from some of their most generous instincts. So the possibility that a charity is actually a scam, or that your money is going to be used for something that you didn't intend it, or is going to go towards somebody who you think is undeserving, is sometimes invoked in order to suggest that we should have less generous social policies or that we should be less generous personally. The other place you see these kinds of narratives come up a lot, although not always called out, is in the area of group stereotype and bias. So one of the things I'm trying to point out is that tropes about who's a sucker and who's a schemer often occupy the content or constitute the content of intergroup prejudice. In the end, what I wanted to do with this book was to suggest that something that can feel a little distasteful, aversive, that reckoning openly with it can actually be a claim to moral agency. It can be a way to improve decision-making, to think clearly about what our goals are and what our vulnerabilities are, and how to live with integrity in a sucker's world.